Thank you for joining us again on our Dentox 1-minute tip of the day. Today, I'm going to give you another tip on how to save your reputation and save you money. When your patients need to come back for touch-ups, it's usually because there's an additional area that needs to be injected. In other words, the patient has come in for a particular treatment and you leave them with an area where there's still hypertonic muscles, which is demonstrated by lines where they don't want them. So the way that you prevent that from happening, and what I mean by prevent you having to pay for these touch-ups to save your reputation, is you need to predict that they may or may not happen. And the way that you do that, for example, when you're injecting around the eye, sometimes when we inject around the eye, when we do the smile lines of the eye, the patients end up with wrinkles or a thickened lower eyelid. So the eye is pretty much one of the most common injection sites. When you inject around the eye, tell your patients that maybe they're going to end up with a thickening of the lower eyelid, and we teach you at the program how to inject the lower eyelid. The tip of the day is to warn your patient, to let your patient know that if they're concerned about a thickening of the lower eyelid, they can come back in for an additional treatment and you'll tell them what it's going to cost them. The same thing applies to when you do injections on the forehead. If you don't want to do touch-ups by relaxing the forehead, for example, when you inject a glabella, when you inject the 11s in the middle, that your patients may need to come back for additional injections in the forehead if their eyes open. The tip is to tell them that it may happen, and because it may happen, if it does happen to them, they know when they come in, they need an additional zone of treatment and they need to pay for it. By telling them in advance, it doesn't look like you've forgotten to inject a particular area or that something's gone wrong with the injections. Thank you for joining us again, and we hope to see you soon on another tip of the day or at one of our programs.